What's up, guys? It's been a while since we've done a video a little bit different than all the gaming videos and stuff like that, but I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about my 3D printer setup. So I've been doing this for a while. I'll show you some of the stuff I've been printing. It's mainly been more small stuff, but the reason I want to make this video is we're going to try our first big kind of larger scale print. So I have the Elegoo Saturn Ultra 3. You'll see here, and then I've got the wash and cure station as well. I got this nice little rubber mat here, which kind of is good for you know, just putting stuff that's covered in resin on it. It easily washes up. I've been using the 8K Elegoo water washable resin, which just makes everything a little bit easier for cleanup. It's still, you still want to be really careful. You still want to make sure you use gloves. I got my eyewear right here on my little desk, but it just makes everything easier. I can just fill this up with water, throw it in there, lay them out here on paper towel to dry, and then throw them in the cure machine. So it makes it a little easier. I got a plastic scraper here for kind of stirring up what's left. I've got my metal scraper for taking off. And I got this little guy in case I need a little extra oomph to get it off, which I haven't really had to do in a while. So I'm going to take this off. You'll see I still got a little bit of resin left in here from a previous setup, but it's not enough to really do anything, you'll see. So I'm waiting on the next bottle to get here to fill it, top it back up before we start this big print. But what are we printing is the question, and let me show you here real quick just some of the stuff I've been doing. So here's kind of mainly for our D&D games that me and the kids have been playing. I printed this dice jail, which is pretty cool. You see here, the kids really wanted a dice jail. I also did some towers, but I had to scale them down a little bit, and they're just not quite big enough to get all the dice through, so we haven't really been using them. But here's some of the minis. Emery's really into Fool's Gold, so I bought the STL files and printed off some of the characters from Fool's Gold. Here is one of, I haven't finished painting, gosh, why can't I think of the name? Snips, sorry, Jeezel Pete's. Here's one that I built on Eldritch Foundry, where you can kind of customize them. Kind of hard to get a good shot here. And then see if I can tap the screen, focus in on it. And then I printed it and painted it. So you can see really good detail from the printer. What's another one we've printed? Some of these I bought a lot of these on like Etsy before I printed. Here's one I printed recently, but I haven't painted yet, like an alien guy. Here's one I printed that I've gone ahead and whitewashed or dry brush, but I haven't painted yet. That's like a tiger guy. What are some other ones? Oh, here's a big basilisk that we used in our last campaign that we ran. Oh man, looks like he's leaking a little bit. That's not good. I tried to punch holes in him, but I didn't make the holes big enough, I think. And he still has some stuff coming out. Not good. Look at that. Here's another one I printed that's kind of more like a Warhammer style. But you can see we get really good detail on these miniatures from the Ultra. Here's one I did, so there's a bunch of them in here. Here's one I did for Lyle's character for our new campaign, where he's kind of like walking out of a portal. Pretty cool. This is a guy they're going to be encountering soon. So you get really good detail on the miniatures, but I haven't done anything big yet. So this is what we're going to be printing. It is a kind of a larger scale Raphael statue, which I'm really excited about. I just bought the STL off I think Etsy, got it off Etsy. So this is just the actual statue. The base and stuff is too big to fit on the plate as well, so we'll have to print them off separately. But when it's done, it's going to be a pretty large scale. I also haven't painted anything this obvious. That's going to be the other challenge for me. Everything else I've painted have been minis, so they hide. You hide some of the details. Here's another mini I painted recently for the campaign I'm running of Emmys. You can see like I can get in there pretty good, but like if I kind of smudge something up or something, it doesn't really affect it, you know, because it's so small. So, but on something larger, those imperfections and those little slips and everything are going to be much more noticeable. So I'm a little nervous. Here is what the Raphael statue will look like when it's done, ideally. So you can see the base and like the sewer lid are separate. I'll have to print them out separate, but like, and this will be good for learning just technique. So all this definition and shading and highlighting and like this detail stuff, I don't know how to do that painting. So I guess part of this is going to be a learning process. But the cool thing about having a printer is, you know, other than just the cost of resin, it's not going to be that much to print this off and use it as a learning process. So let's go ahead and top up the printer, start the file, and we'll see how long it's going to take. One thing I did want to point out that's nice about this file is it does come pre-hollowed. So you'll see here, they're already hollow on the inside. One thing you definitely want to do if you're new to printing and you're doing bigger models like these is use, you know, in whatever your slicer software is, use that hollow feature because you're going to save a ton of resin and stuff by not having them. They also already have some drainage holes in them, but you know, again, if you're doing something new, you can use the where's that hole? Yep, creator, and punch a hole like in the bottom of the foot or something like that, so that you can drain that resin out. All right, so the next phase is we need to add some resin into our vat. So we got a new bottle, brand new bottle, the 8K Space Gray water washable resin. Of course, we got gloves and stuff on because this stuff is pretty messy. Even the water stuff, it doesn't have as bad of a smell or an odor as the more alcohol heavy kind, but still, just want to put stuff on when you mess with this stuff all the time. And of course, you've got the little fill line in there. We're just going to pour it up to that line. We're going to go all the way up to the max line since it's going to be a big print. And then just trying to keep things clean, I just wipe something up as soon as I spill it. I try to anyway. Get it done right away. Put our cap back on there. And then just to make sure, I didn't mention this before, you do want to shake the bottle, but you don't want to shake it up and down. It can build up pressure. When you pop the lid, it can gases can leak out. So you just want to give it a swirl. Just pro tip. But I also like to just take my plastic scraper. And this is a good, especially if you leave stuff in the vat, it's good to just give it a nice, for one, you want to make sure nothing's sticking to the FEP at the bottom, the clear screen on the bottom. And it's good just to give a nice little stir to your resin. First one, write that down. We've got, we should be good to go. So we'll put our lid back on. And this print's going to take about 5 hours. So let's go ahead and send the file so it can start the print. All right, so back over on our software. I got you up here on the main monitor. We got everything laid out here. We're good to go. I did add a little Warlord mini here that is going to be for the kids campaign, D&D campaign that I need. So we've got that, and then over here, let's see if you hover over it, it gives you this little box that just shows the build height area. So you can build something like long that goes essentially all the way up to that. That's like your build area. Everything needs to fit inside that box. So zoom back in here. Oops. We'll hit slice. I'm gonna go through and slice that file. While we're waiting, if you're wondering where I get a lot of my files, I have a lot here on my mini factory. So you can buy individual pieces, which I've done, or you can subscribe to a bunch of different creators that will send you stuff monthly. Some do like one a month, some do entire sets. Most of them are pretty cheap. They're like $1, $2, $3 a month. But yeah, you get a lot of cool stuff. And then I also have a subscription to Lude Studios that does, it's like 15 hours a month, but you get like 40 minis a month. You get like a whole bunch. It's pretty cool. All right, so our files here is all ready to go. It's got all of our settings here. We are doing a 2.5 exposure time, lift distance of 3 millimeters, 90 millimeters, 35-second exposure, bottom exposure time. Then you'll see up here it tells us this is going to take about 134 milliliters of resin. It's going to cost us about $4.50 based on like the price. It's going to be right under 5 hours. Now the cool thing about the Saturn Ultra 3 is it has network sending. So we can just click network send. It sees our printer, hit send, and it sends the file directly to the printer. All right, we are all done. Here's our build plate. Took 5 hours and 31 minutes. Done. You can see not much dripped down. We filled it up to the max line, so we didn't use that much. Let's go ahead and take out the build plate and check it out. Turned out pretty good. Everything looks to be in order. And that gives off the build plate. We're just going to use our scraper. I'm just going to get a little bit under the edges. All right, so we just got everything off the build plate. And you'll see here, all the pieces here. So here, come here. Are on these little supports that print with it. Now you can kind of decide, some people like to wash them and cure them with the supports on. I tend to like to go ahead and remove them now. A few reasons, because they come off a little easier before you cure it. And all these little points that it reaches, they're not getting cured properly because there's something there. So I just like to go ahead and get them off now, and then I'll dispose and sit all these pieces out in the sun just so they can naturally cure and not throw away. So we'll go ahead and pull all these off. Okay, so we've got all of our contaminated stuff here that we know we can get rid of and cure and throw out. And all of our other pieces are now set, other than some of these little tiny pieces. I didn't put them in here because they'll fall through this into the little wheel that spins down. So I just hand washed them, dipped them a few times, and then put them out to dry. So I'm going to sew this up. I'll take the UV plate off from the spinning plate. Set our wash station, try and do this with one hand. On the spot, there we go. All right, turn on our wash station. We want it in wash mode. 3 minutes. There we go. So it spins up and it washes all those parts. And that's why we couldn't put those little tiny ones in there. They can fall through that grate and then get cut out of it. So, somewhere here is sticking, hear it vibrating. Sometimes like a sword or something can stick through and hit that reel. But let's see how it goes. All right, we got the lid on, so we're gonna go down here to mode, switch it over to the light. We'll do 2 minutes and then we'll flip it. There it goes. So you'll see it just shoots this UV light, spins around, and we'll come check on it in a few minutes. So here is the bulk of our ref. You'll see here the legs fit in real easily. This one's actually in so good, it's almost kind of stuck. I don't even need to put glue on it. I mean, I will, but so you can see here. So these are the nubs from the supports. That's why when you're doing supports, you're just going to be mindful of not putting them on a lot of the more, excuse me, I had to sneeze. Featured parts, hide them under chins or on the back here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a tiny little X-Acto knife, one like this here, and we're just going to kind of file away at them and just try to get them down to the base. Shoot. So like I said, we'll try to file those down and get those to the base before we prime it. But I'm really happy with how much detail came through. And again, like I wasn't sure all this little dog hair, all these little like textured parts on the belt and specifically here on this wrap. I haven't done a print this big to really test the detail level of the printer, but like look at even at the edges here and the rip. and like the texture on the skin. Really, really impressed with how it came out. All right, so coming back a little bit later, we are completely done. Here is our completed Raph here. You can see our elf on a shelf, checking out the hermit crabs there. Here's the base. Shout out to LA Figures. And we got this nice little sewer lid that goes on top of it. So it goes like that. I'm not gonna put it in quite yet because I'm gonna paint it separately, but you'll see a little test fit here for the Raph. Again, I'm not gonna push it all the way in because we want to paint them separate before we put them together. There you go. There he is on his base, looking pretty good. I did have a little bit of problem with his bandana, so I broke the first one just trying to get it in the back of his head because it was a little too, the peg was a little too long. So just finicking with it, I broke it. So I printed off a new one, and that one snapped too, trying to get it off of the supports. I think I can glue it back on though, so we'll try to reattach it before we print a third one off. But yeah, looking pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. We'll get started painting. I think I need to get some gray primer, but I've got like this brown here that I'm going to use for like all the leathery bits. Not the wrap. The wrap, that's a lighter color. I'll have to see what I got, but for like the pads and all this stuff, we'll do this darker brown for his belt. Not quite sure I'm gonna do with the shell yet. And then I've got this red here, and this green for the skin that we're gonna use. So I thought about waiting and trying to do it with an airbrush. I don't have an airbrush, but my birthday is this weekend, so I might see if I get some money and I can get an airbrush, but if not, I want it to turn out good. That's the thing I'm most worried about is the painting. I was confident that I can print it and everything, obviously fine. It's the painting that I don't want to ruin it, but we'll see how we do. All right, guys, so you'll see here we've now got our Raphael all primed. I went with a new primer because I wanted to go gray. I'm not crazy about the satin. It's like still really tacky too, so I'm not crazy about the finish on the primer, but it is primed. And if you're wondering why I got this box backdrop, it's because for my birthday, I got an airbrush. So we are gonna mix up some of the green here, some of our green, and see how this works and do our first airbrushing. Okay, here comes our first, do a little test. All right, we're getting some green, that's good. So let's give it a go. Okay, I did a horrible job of holding that by the actual camera, but this is after an early coat. I'll probably let it sit for a second, come back and hit it again. One thing I did notice is so this is just a cheap airbrush I got off Amazon. It's a 0.5 millimeter. Oh, we got some gunk in there already. So it's not really fine. So I'm definitely noticing where like, I can see where an upgraded one with a dual flow where you push and pull would give me a little bit more control. So I don't think for really fine details, like when I go in and do all these pads and everything, I'm probably gonna have to do that with a brush. But you can see how evenly it does for all these thicker parts. And when we go back in and do some shading later, I think it'll be nice for that too. All right, so we'll see here. I might come back and hit it again, but the cool thing is I think I went a little bit too dark on some of these shades when I tried to, but the cool thing about going too dark is it's easier to light it up. So all I did was put a little bit more green and tone down on some of the darks. Okay, so we're back the next day. My camera died, but you'll see here on the last shot we had how thicker those blacks were. I just came back through and lightened it up a little bit. So I added a bit more solution and then drained a little bit of the darker green and then added more of the regular green. I didn't really add any white. I just put more normal green and cleaned out the old stuff. And then just hit over it again on some of the really dark areas. I think it really made a difference. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think you can see now the shading and the darker tones now in the muscles and the cracks, but it's not quite as harsh as it was a minute ago. I hit a little bit on top of the head too. Guys, I'm just like, I'm just giddy with how this turned out so far. I wasn't sure, my first airbrush job. I got a few touch-up spots. You can see I went over with a brush and did the browns here. So I just gotta go through and touch up a few spots. But overall, like with the airbrush, I'm stoked. I can't believe how cool this is turning out. I can't wait to kind of fill in the rest of these areas and get back to work. Okay, so we finished the shell. You'll notice that the shell is the same tone as the belt, which we don't want, but I like the base color. And of course, we're gonna do a bunch of washes and some detail work on just about everything. But I think what I'm gonna do is for the belt, I'm gonna come back in, where's that? And add some of my gray speed paint. This is a very, actually comes up really dark, but I think I'm just gonna go over it and try to gray up this belt a little bit just to make it a little differentiator. And then when we come back and do washes, we'll go thick on the shell, which will make it a little bit darker and look a little grimy. Hopefully that kind of differentiates the belt and the shell enough to where they don't look so seamless. All right, little update. So I did the chest, which was what I was really nervous about. I really didn't have a color. I had to do some mixing, and then I had to use a brush, which was really not working. So then I put it in the sprayer and darkened it up a little bit. And if you get in real close, I mean, you can see some imperfections, but I really think it did turn out good because I just didn't have a color in mind on what I was going to use on that. And I think that mix, which was a really mustardy kind of color with just acting a little bit of white. And then I added some more of my gray. You'll see I did some of the highlights or some of these little detail rivet bits. The belt turned out pretty good actually with that, just throwing that gray speed wash on it. And then I did the weapons in a metallic silver. And I'm ready to start. One of the parts I'm more nervous about is my biggest challenge where I fail, and you can see I missed the spot right there, is where it meets seams, where things meet. I just can't get the detail or the brush control to not bleed over. And I'm terrified about doing this bandana, but I guess it's about all we got left to do, so let's give it a shot. All right, all in all, I think it went pretty well. The red went on really dark, so it actually took about 3 coats. I got a little bit of touch up I need to do with some more green around where it just bled over, but it took about 3 or 4 coats to even get it that right. You can see I did the eyes and the teeth. It looks good from decently. When you get really in up close, you can see, you know, some of the stuff, but all in all, it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna try to go in with this darker purple and just do the gum work, like just a thin line around the gums. We'll see how that goes. All right, I think that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I might come back like tomorrow and let it sit and then come back and do some more touch-up work, but dude, it looks really good. You can see I did a thick black wash on the shell, and I feel like I go back and forth about washes. Sometimes I feel like they rob you and just kind of make everything look overly grimy and kind of can even rob detail. I went back and forth on whether to use wash on the wraps because I just love the detail on the wraps and how it came out with the print. I decided to go with a gray wash, so just a my Vallejo Game Wash gray, pale gray. And I think it did a good job of maintaining the detail. You can still see like there's fine wraps, the fine details in the wrap, but just giving it a little extra, you know, grit, a little extra shading to make it look lived in. Put a very thin wash on the weapons. Again, I didn't want to over grime it up and lose that detail. The gums didn't quite turn out like I wanted to. I may do a little bit more on them. I had to, it was just went on too thick and then I had to come back with more white and push it back, but dude, oh, I'm so happy with this. This looks freaking awesome for my first large print, first airbrush. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how good this looks. I did get from LA Figures the other 3 turtles and Shredder. So I'm looking forward to doing, and that's gonna be tricky because I want to try to do them all in a different shade of green. I like when the turtles all have just a slightly different shade of green. So how I'm gonna achieve that but still have the proper shading and everything remains to be seen. But man, what a trip. It took a while to do all this, to print it, to wash, cure, prime, paint. But I'm really happy with it. It turned out way better than I could have expected. There's the base. Very happy. Man, I'm ready to do the next one. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. Let me know if you want me to do a similar video when I do the other ones. When I do the other turtles. But yeah, for now, thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comments. How my work can be better. Of course, I think mainly just attention to detail, just all the little parts that you really can't tell until you look up close. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.